The Daily Deal, and Lotto with a wild card.
Now on TV 9.
You're watching KCRG-TV 9, your 24-hour news source.
Good evening, I'm Susan Folken. In the news of this hour, the Hawkeyes are keeping their hopes for a Rose Bowl berth alive with a big win over the Hoosiers. We'll have highlights of today's game tonight at 10. Also at the Hawkeye game, a victim of last week's university shooting finds much-needed help. We'll have that story at 10. And President Bush agrees to impose economic sanctions against Yugoslavia in an attempt to end the Civil War there. Now this.
Would you like to go to the next Iowa home football game?
Or how about a trip for two to Pasadena in the Rose Bowl?
Register to win at either Toyota of Iowa City
or Chezik Sayers Honda. Who's going to win?
You call it.
Also tonight, Christmas is just around the corner and Santa Claus has already come to town. We'll have that story and more at 10 on your 24-hour news source.
You're watching KCRG-TV 9, your 24-hour news source.
Good evening, I'm Susan Folken. In the news of this hour, friends and colleagues of University of Iowa shooting victim Mia Siosin kicked off a fundraising drive at the Hawkeye football game today. The money they raise will help pay for long-term care and living expenses. And the Hawkeyes are keeping their hopes for a trip to the Rose Bowl game alive. They did it with a big win over the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll have highlights tonight at 10. And Eastern Iowans gathered today to honor veterans of the Persian Gulf War with the dedication of one part of a Cedar Rapids memorial. We will have more on those stories coming up tonight at 10 on your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
Today on TV 9's Live at 5.
This is Alicia Richards. If you don't drive a four-wheel drive, don't attempt roads like these. We'll take you on a journey through Iowa's rain-soaked rural roads.
Then at 6.
After an embarrassing night in New Hampshire for President Bush, Iowa Republicans assess the damage. Tonight at 6, some Eastern Iowans react to the Pat Buchanan challenge.
That's today at 5 and 6 on your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9. You're watching KCRG-TV 9, your 24-hour news source.
Good afternoon, I'm Edie Fawcett, the Eyewitness newsroom. In the news at this hour, an early spring thaw wreaks havoc on the roads. Warm, wet weather has left many gravel roads in a literal quagmire. Tonight on Live at 5, we'll show you how to avoid the mess and keep from getting stuck in a rut. And Tom Harkin takes his presidential campaign to South Dakota. We'll have the latest on Eyewitness News at 6. In the weather, mostly cloudy, flurries possible. We'll have more news in an hour on your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
In one ear and in the other. Hear the difference. KCRG-TV 9 now broadcasts in stereo.
Tonight at 6 on 28 Eyewitness News.
It's the nastiest local race going. Tonight, reporter Andy Mahalchik takes us to Hazleton for a look at the race for State House there.
Plus, has the Pittston area school strike cost these students a chance at the college of their choice?
And in our health beat, there may be help for those old bones.
These stories and more at 6 on 28 Eyewitness News.
We could see some snow in eastern Iowa. Your first alert forecast tonight.
Rough ride at Talladega tonight on Nightcast.
Could we see some wet snow? Meteorologist Mike Lapoint has details in his first alert forecast at 10. Stay with your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9. Coming up on TV 9 News, the memorial in Cedar Rapids pays tribute to local workers who have died on the job. And thousands of walkers spend the morning raising money for a good cause. Stay with your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
You're watching your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
Good evening, I'm Mark Thomas. In the news at this hour, a gunman in Australia killed 32 people in Tasmania today. An American is among the injured. We'll have the latest at 10 on Nightcast. How do blind people protect themselves from crime? In tonight's Crackdown on Crime report, we'll show you a new course that teaches those without sight life-saving skills. Your first alert forecast, rain is possible tonight, lows near 38. Tomorrow, rain continuing with wet snow, high near 48. Stay with your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
You're watching your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
Good evening, I'm Mark Thomas. In the news at this hour, President Clinton goes behind closed doors at the White House, taping his testimony in the Whitewater trial. The president is a defense witness for his former Whitewater business partners. More at 10 on Nightcast. Also, we'll tell you why 900 couples renewed their wedding vows in New Jersey today. Your first alert forecast tonight, rain and windy, lows around 38 degrees. Stay with your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
You're watching your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV 9.
Good evening, I'm Mark Thomas. In the news this hour, Australian police now have the gunman who killed at least 32 people today in custody. Jury selection begins tomorrow for the man accused of killing 2 Waterloo Target store employees. And a new program gives blind people the power to fight off attackers. Now this.
Join John Campbell and Chuck Marshall on the show that goes where you go. It's Gone Fishing, Saturday at noon on TV 9. Sponsored in part by your local Eastern Iowa GMC dealer.
I'm Cheryl Johnell, reminding you not to miss the Iowa Realty Home Buyer's Guide each Sunday at 10 a.m. on TV 9.